Boruto chapter 68 opens with everyone back in Konoha following the battle with Code. We'd begin with Boruto informing Amado, Katasuke, and Sai of the karma developments that led to his recent resurrection. This sign of peace and normalcy would end quickly later with a war triggered by Code. But at the moment, they were all dumbfounded as expected and had a hard time believing Boruto's explanation on what had happened. At least according to Momoshiki, 82% of the Osutsuki DNA had already finished its extraction and the remaining 18% was used to rebuild the destroyed body parts of Boruto. His heart and lungs were destroyed, which led to his untimely death at the hands of his own brother, Kawaki. Momoshiki of course resurrected him, which saved them both. As Amado would point out, because Boruto is Momoshiki's vessel, had he died, the soul of Momoshiki would be extinguished as well with that. This may sound like a good thing because now in theory, having used the remaining 18% to rebuild Boruto's body, Momoshiki can never resurrect. However, the problem of Boruto losing control of his body to Momoshiki from time to time still remains. Not only that, but as Momoshiki would previously mention, Boruto Uzumaki is now a genuine, pure Osutsuki, meaning he is ready to be sacrificed to the 10 tails. On top of that, this revival was a one-time trick. If death were to grip Boruto again, there would be no escape. And before we go any further, don't forget to drop a like for some plot armor in your life today, and subscribe for more Boruto content. Katasuke would mention the medicine being an effective way to prevent Momoshiki taking control, but Boruto would, to the surprise of us all, reject that. He'd simply say that regarding the pills, he doesn't need them anymore. These pills were originally developed by Amado for a different purpose, but were prescribed to suppress Osutsukification. Taking the pills in general was risky because they could have had unknown side effects. And on top of that, they were of course developed by Amado, a newer, less trustworthy ally. To explain why he no longer needed the pills, Boruto would go on to say that he feels like something has changed from before. He struggled to describe it, but he would boldly claim that he feels as though he could channel Momoshiki's power better now. And this makes sense. There had to be some change that came with becoming a full Osutsuki, and better management of the power is a very logical development. Amado would just watch with interest as Boruto expressed this. We would then get an update on Kawaki and what lies ahead for him. Following the killing of Boruto, Sumire would update the others in the room on his current state of unconsciousness following extreme chakra usage. Kawaki's life at the moment was not in danger, however, and his injuries were already almost fully healed thanks to the nano machines in his blood. It was strange that Sumire would be the one looking over Kawaki instead of Amado, but there were concerns to address before he could be allowed around Kawaki. It would also be questioned whether Kawaki should be left unbound with such strength. However, Shikamaru, being a strategist for the Leaf, knew even attempting that would be futile. With Sukuna Hikona, Kawaki could just shrink himself and escape, and on top of that, with Karma, Kawaki could also absorb any jutsu. Binding Kawaki as he is right now would be no small task. In other words, Shikamaru was basically just saying Kawaki is built different. Not to mention, antagonizing someone as strong and wild as Kawaki would be a dangerous thing, and fortunately for them, Kawaki simply wants Naruto to be safe, and with that being the case, there should be no beef between the two sides. Shikamaru knew all they could do if they wanted to stick to peaceful solutions is trust Kawaki and have faith. Naruto was liking all of this, of course. It was much better than the energy Shikamaru had during the previous battle. At that time, Shikamaru was ready to ship out Kawaki with FedEx 2-day shipping after he killed Boruto. Now though, he was more calm and rational, you could say. This next part was important. Naruto, with a focused yet fatigued look, would state that they'll have a nice long talk with Kawaki when he wakes up, and this could be a sign that there will be no long nice talk. They may not get the chance, and you'll see why a bit later in this chapter. Sumire would take note of Naruto's comments at that time before later asking Shikamaru about it. She had concerns about Naruto, but Shikamaru would brush it off, explaining that Naruto had just narrowly escaped death and was just exhausted. Next, Sasuke would make an appearance, and this was someone we have not seen in forever. So many questions were asked about his whereabouts, and finally we'd get answers. He'd come stating that he has intel concerning Code's whereabouts. Sasuke would find the Boro facility at the edge of the Land of Snow. This is where Ada was found by Code previously and where they'd been up until now. Sasuke would then inform Shikamaru that at this location it seems they engage in inhumane rituals, human experimentation, among other things. It was even known for disposing of cyborgs that Jigen had ordered to be scrapped. This was a lead and there was no proof of Code being present there. However, Sasuke did mention Bug, who we'd previously seen activate Ada for Code. Shikamaru would plan to order a deployment, however, later the heat does come to them instead. Following the updates on his lead, Sasuke would confirm that Kawaki had killed Boruto and he reserved any thoughts and instead opted to ask about Boruto's whereabouts. Sasuke and Boruto do of course have a mentor-mentee type relationship, so it makes sense that Sasuke would be concerned and immediately wants to know where to find him. The details of Kawaki killing Boruto were being kept secret, and is part of why Sumire couldn't understand the state Naruto was in earlier. Shikamaru would give the details on where to find Boruto and mention Sarada as well, reminding Sasuke to be a father for once. Back at their hideout, which Sasuke and Konoha now know about, Ada would inform Code of what had happened with Boruto. They'd confirm Boruto was alive and know the details of how, through Ada using her clairvoyance to eavesdrop on Boruto and Amado's earlier conversation. She couldn't understand how Boruto and Momoshiki were able to have conversations, but figured it might have been done through communication on some sort of spiritual plane, which is kind of exactly what it seems like it had happened previously. This conversation would then take an interesting turn. Like we spoke about in the previous chapter, Ada and Code would have a very clear line drawn. They were not real partners. Ada would explain she was tired of Code's displays, he had taken it too far in their last conflict, especially when he used Diamond as a shield without permission. Code had done so to save himself from death at the hands of Kawaki, believing he had no other choice of escape, and he'd explain this here. She would again make it clear that Code's job was to bring Kawaki to her, and in return, she would help him get his power back. However, the biggest development would be this. If Ada found Code still incompetent after he regains his power, she and Diamond would dispose of him. With Diamond still on him, Code would comment that it's sad they aren't even comrades, and Ada would retort by pretty much stating that business is business. Now we'd get our biggest teaser as to what's to come with Boruto's war later. Code already had taken measures, and with that we'd see a claw mark on Shikamaru's neck with an ear sticking out of it, revealing that Code was planning to use Shikamaru as a Trojan horse. Using this mark, he'd be able to teleport right onto Shikamaru at any moment, easily invading Konoha. All that was left to do was wait for the perfect timing. And look at Shikamaru, man, constant L's. First he got held hostage and now he's brought a bomb to Konoha basically. Pretty crazy. Anyway, Shikamaru would approach Amado. He had questions. Firstly though, some things were to be confirmed. Through blood analysis, they could confirm that 1. Boruto is in fact Otsutsuki, and 2. It is 100% impossible for Momoshiki to resurrect. Things would escalate from here. Shikamaru would comment that this was great, and then grab hold of Amado and start to demand answers on Kawaki's karma. Just like that, the mood had shifted. This was just a tease though, because we would then transition to something equally as exciting, the return of Sarada in the Boruto manga. It had been ages since we last saw her. I wouldn't even blame some people for forgetting that Boruto had a squad to begin with. She would be checking out the new mark on Boruto's chest, the sign of his rebirth. With curiosity, Boruto would explain that it was a close call and that Code almost got him. Mitsuki, like Sarada, is pretty smart and would ask a very good question. If Code wants to feed Boruto to the Ten Tails, why would he be trying to kill him? Boruto would struggle to answer this and remember the order from Shikamaru to not reveal that Kawaki had killed him. This information was being kept secret for the sake of avoiding panic while they figured out what to do from this point on. However, we imagine this will be revealed somehow in the future to Sarada and Mitsuki. So with the command in mind, Boruto would attempt to lie and just reply that perhaps Code couldn't control himself. They then note that it's likely Boruto will be targeted from here on out even more than previously. Interrupting this conversation would come Sasuke. He'd warned them not to go anywhere alone, not even in the village, while also acknowledging the irony in the fact that he himself is always going places alone. With Code's limiters in mind, Sasuke would note that it's not only Boruto who needs to be careful, but Amado as well. And with that, we transition back to Shikamaru pressing Amado, the snake. He'd confront him regarding Kawaki's karma returning, again because Kawaki had lost his karma and it was supposed to be gone forever. However, with Amado's intervention, it returned in the form of a pure weapon. Amado would of course try to justify his actions, stating that he probably wouldn't have been able to get consent. However, he believed Kawaki desired the power, enough to protect Naruto and chase off enemies. Despite him planting the seeds, Amado believed genuinely that Kawaki ultimately made the choice himself. Intention was essential for the karma's return. Being manipulative as always, Amado would then point to the results and what could have been had he not reconstructed the karma. He wholeheartedly believed he did what was right. Shikamaru was not having it though, and with a look of disgust, he would state that what Amado did was not for the benefit of Kawaki or Konoha. To Shikamaru, and probably all of us by now, Amado seems personally obsessed with Kawaki's karma itself. We needed to know why. But before the chance could arrive, something else made its appearance. From the back of Shikamaru, to the surprise of Amado, it was Code. Like a gentleman, he'd apologized for interrupting, but the opportunity was too good to waste. Amado was now sweating as he yelled out, "Code!" And while that entrance was very hype, I'm on Ada's side as she states that the conversation was just getting interesting, so what a shame we do not get to know what Amado the Snake is thinking at this time. We need to know Amado's intentions, and I'm sure it'll come soon. Immediately, Code would pop off and send Shikamaru flying into a wall. He would then grab Amado by the neck and demand the removal of his limiters. Amado, despite his intelligence intelligence did not see this move coming, and instead of acknowledging Code's command, he'd warned that Code would be sensed by Konoha's sensory unit and be immediately found. To Amato's surprise, Code already knew how the limiters could be removed. It would only take a couple seconds and require Amato looking at Code's eyes and saying a command. The sensory unit would become aware of Code's presence and immediately check on Shikamaru, who would confirm Code's arrival. He would deny the call for backup though, and instead tell them to inform Naruto and the others. He didn't want to scare Code away. This was too good an opportunity to waste. Ino was here told to wait for a signal, and with that, Shikamaru would clasp his hands together and begin the Shadow Possession Jutsu. The jutsu would then lurk at the feet of Code, but this was of no use. Code was still able to move his fingertips enough to kill Amato. With that, he'd tell Amato to hurry up and remove the limiters. A major twist would then develop. Shikamaru knew all along that Code was trying to use him to get close to Amato. This was a setup for Code. Just then, the mysterious android pod we've waited months to see inside of would begin to open. Shikamaru would then declare that it was showtime and call for Bronco to wake up. The android appeared to be Delta, but something was different. The mark on her forehead was different and now somewhat similar to the Konoha symbol. Shikamaru would explain that this was a new model reprogrammed to be a battle asset for Konoha, and with that reveal, he would give Delta commands to attack Code, and she would begin doing so happily. Delta would immediately attack, sending Code flying and freeing Amato. Her fiery personality remained as well. Delta would now with confidence declare that she would hold back and not use destructive beams to limit havoc in the closed area, while simultaneously Code would make his play. He'd reach his hand into a claw mark. To Shikamaru, this appeared like a retreat. He was very wrong. This was no escape, it was the opposite. Ada, the real enemy, like a goddess, would now slowly appear from the mark. Everyone was stunned. Ada was now here on the battlefield. This was the first time we've seen her leave the base, and so her appearance is a sign that this is about to reach a new level of crazy. We might even see some bodies drop with how her abilities work. Lucky for them, Diamond did not appear with her, but he just might come very soon. In the comments, let us know what you think will happen next. We foresee chaos and an all-out war breaking out. Until next time, keep that farm on you. I'm KJ, have a great day. Goodbye.